Buddy and Junior were every rock hero's hero. All the famous rock stars that we thought were the coolest, greatest people in the world, they have a hero or heroes. And I happen to be friends with two of them. So I called Buddy and I said, Buddy, the Stones are at the Horizon tonight, and I think you could be my ticket in. And he thought about that for a second, and he says, I'd like to see the guys again. That'd be fun. Let's do it. And when we got to the arena, they divert all the traffic to the left into the parking lot, and I don't turn left. I go straight. Well, I went straight about 20 feet, and 4 cops descended immediately. Where are you going? The street's closed to traffic. And I said, oh, I'm sorry, but I was given very explicit orders to deliver Mr. Guy to the pass gate. All of which I was making up, of course. And, oh, by all means. Buddy commanded enough name recognition and respect to get respect. You know, we didn't look like, you know, a couple of guys trying to fake it. So, 5 minutes later, Bill Wyman came running outside, and it was November. It was winter. It wasn't winter, but it was cold. And he came out in a T-shirt. And he was all excited like a little kid to see Buddy Guy. And he hugged him and he kissed him. And, oh, I'm so glad you came. Fine, let's go inside. Is anybody with you? And he said, yeah, I brought my manager with me. And Bill was nice and cordial. He put special passes. The Stones use concentric circles of security in their venues, where if you're somebody with a little clout, you can get in that first ring of security area. And if you have a little more clout, you can get into an inner ring. The final ring that nobody gets into, nobody except the Stones, is their dressing room. And he put passes on us to the dressing room. Yeah. So we went from being nobody to having the most important pass. The promoter of the show can't get into that room. And he waltzed us in, and all of a sudden, Marty, this is Mick Jagger. Marty, this is Keith Richards. You know, and Bill Wyman I'd met on the outside. And I was just like blown away by all this. You know, this was far more than I ever imagined. And at some point when we were out of everybody else's earshot, I said to him, I said, Buddy, since when am I the manager? And he said, well, I was afraid they wouldn't let you in if I had to make you somebody important. I said, well, that's good. I like the sound of that. And he told me later that night, he says, if you want to be the manager, you're the only one who seems to give a damn. If you want it, you got it. And I managed him for the next 13, 14 years. 81, that was 81. I managed him to 93. 12 years. And so that's how I became a, quote, blues manager. And I started out with, I was managing Buddy Guy and I was managing Junior Wells, 2 worldwide legendary blues stars. I got a call one day in my office, and I pick up the phone. Hi, it's Marty Salzman, and a female voice says, John, I got him. And she says, would you hold on 1 second for John McEnroe? And she hands him the phone, and I'm sitting here in town, and hi, I'm John McEnroe. And I could tell it was really him. I mean, it wasn't a fake call. And I said, aren't you in Wimbledon? He said, yeah, I am. He was #1 player in the world. He says, I'm calling you because Vitas Gerulaitis and I, who was also a top 10 world tennis player in those days, he says, Vitas and I do a Special Olympics fundraiser every year in New York, and we combine tennis with music. And I took up guitar this year, and then I discovered Buddy Guy, and I'm completely blown away, and I got to have Buddy Guy at my event. And I said, sounds like fun. We read time, the gears are turning. This is exactly the kind of stuff I need to do. And he told me when it was, and I said, there is one condition attached. And he says, what's that? I said, am I invited? And he says, of course you're invited, you know. So we did that, and that was cool. But one thing builds on the other. 3 months later, we're in San Francisco, and we have a night off. And I said to Buddy, I see in the paper, the Pro Tennis Tour is here tonight. So I said, you want to go? He says, yeah, let's go. So I called McEnroe's office in New York, my new friend, and she says, the secretary says, sure, Marty, we'll have seats waiting for you and Buddy at will call. We go down and we get the best box in the house sitting next to McEnroe's father. And we're sitting there watching the tennis. And while we're watching the tennis, I'm on the aisle seat. This is an aisle. And Buddy's sitting to my left. And as we're watching the tournament, somebody kneels down right here. But I was sort of intent on watching the point, and I didn't really turn around. And he's kneeling there, quiet and polite, and the point ends, and 10 seconds later, and he says, excuse me, I've always wanted to meet Buddy Guy. And I turned and looked, and I said, well, Carlos Santana, I don't think you need any introduction. Carlos Santana, Buddy Guy. And that's how we first met. Clapton came to Detroit, so we got to know each other a little bit, you know, and then there came a phone call one morning to the office. Marty, I'm in Chicago, and is Buddy at the club tonight? And I said, yeah. And he said, I'm going to come by with Roger Waters and I are here, and we want to come by and see Buddy. I said, more than welcome, you know, it's always a pleasure. I'll take care, I'll have our end ready for you. Okay. And this was at the Checkerboard, not Legend. This is the old club. And I called my brother, I say, you want to see Eric Clapton tonight? He's coming to Checkerboard. Oh, you're kidding me, not. Can't be. I said, yeah, he is. How do you know? I said, I just talked to him. Okay. He's really coming. Okay. So we go to the Checkerboard, and we're there, and Eric had said he'd be there at 7 o'clock, and we're standing there, and it's about 10 to 7. And my brother says to me, now let me get this straight. You're telling me that in 10 minutes, Eric Clapton and Roger Waters are going to walk through that door? I said, that's right. That's what I'm telling you. He said, okay. We stood there 10 minutes. Almost on the nose, too. It was amazing, his timing. Eric Clapton walks right in. He says, Marty, how you doing? Walks up, shakes my hand. Says, oh, this is my brother Steven. Shakes his hand. This is my friend Roger. My brother was blown away. And you know who else was with him that night? Patty Boyd, I think her real name was. She was married to George Harrison, and then she became Eric's girlfriend. She was there. She came with them. Buddy did a walk-on with Carlos Santana here in Chicago. It was an off night, and they had an off night in town and said, well, let's make some money. So they announced a show at like 10 in the morning that wasn't planned, sold it out in 2 hours at the Cadillac Theater on Randolph Street. It holds about 2,500, 3,000 people. And Carlos did a whole show there. And he called and said, Buddy, you got to come out and play some blues with me tonight. All right, we did that. And towards the end of the show, Buddy and Carlos get into somewhat of a head-cutting situation. Carlos plays some intricate tune in Buddy's face, and Buddy looks at him and he repeats the tune note for note. And then everything gets quiet, and then Carlos looks at him and he plays another riff that's twice as intricate, twice as long, more notes, fast. And then he finishes, and it's a Santana audience. And they're cheering, and they're crazy and they're sitting there saying, all right, what are you going to do now, mister? And Buddy looks at him, and Buddy repeats the riff note for note again. Boom, boom, perfect. And everything quiets up again. And then Carlos gives him the triple entente. I mean, he does one 3 times as long, 3 times as intricate, completely super demonstration. And at this point, the band stops playing. They can't even continue. They're just like, oh my God. And everybody in the house turned and looked at Buddy Guy. And Buddy Guy looked at him. And Buddy Guy took his hand, put it over the top of the neck, and repeated the entire damn thing upside down. And they all quit, and that was the end of the show. Because Buddy could do stuff nobody else could do. And the last thing you ever wanted to do in your life as a guitar player was challenge Buddy Guy.